What was that? Welcome to the Planning, Regulatory and Licensing Committee on Wednesday, the 10th of November. Before we start the meeting, I'd like to have a minute's silence for Howard Barrett, who passed away last week. He's been on the Planning Committee for 14 years and for a number of years has been the chair of the committee as well. So if we could have a minute's silence from now, please. Oh, right. Oh, well, thank you very much. Please note that today's meeting will be recorded. This recording will not be broadcast on the authority's internet, as it will only be used for training purposes by Democratic Services. The public seating areas will be in view of the camera, and by joining the meeting, members of the public are consented to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings as outlined above. I think we all know the policy now about before you can vote, you've got to have heard the whole of the meeting. Do you want to run through it, Geraint? Or I think we're all used to it.
I think basically just to reiterate, in order to be able to vote at the on the recommendation, you need to have been present for the whole debate. Obviously, it's a matter for you, but you do need to have listened to the whole debate in order to be able to vote.
Yes. Oh, right. Thanks. So the first item on the agenda, apologies for absence. We've had 2 apologies, I think, is it?
Councillor John Thomas, Chair.
Councillor John Thomas, right, lovely. And are there any declarations? Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No. So item number 3 is a planning application P21 0322 6 Bishops Grove, Penydarren. Is Hugh taking the report? Is it?
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. Yeah.
Fair enough then. Oh, thank you then.
Okay, I'll just share my screen. Let me know if it's up. Can everyone see that?
Yes, that's we can see that. Lovely, thanks.
Let me just see if I can do my. Okay. Okay, so members are really aware that this application or different application for an extension, first floor extension to the rear of the property in the area, I've got my cursor there, came to planning committee in July, where it was refused at planning committee because of the overbearing impact on the neighbouring property here, 7 Bishops Grove, overlooking to that property and also overlooking to the neighbouring property. Following that refusal, the owner of the property and the applicant came to the planning department with a pre-application inquiry with regard to the current proposal, which is to erect a 2-storey side extension, which you can see here. So that's a 2-storey extension on the side. You can see it's slightly stepped in from the neighbouring property there because of the angles. That's the 7 Bishops Grove. As you can see, the rear of the site remains as a 1-storey extension. It's only this 2-storey extension that's being proposed. So the extension as you can see, is going on the side. So we got a window on the first floor, a garage at ground floor, a window in the rear and a door in the rear. And there's that slight step back, as you can see at the bottom photograph, that comes in from the neighbour's property. As a result of the publicity, the neighbour at number 7 has again objected to the application concerning the overbearing impact and because of the close proximity, she's concerned about that impact, and also concerned about overlooking to the rear from the proposed rear window there. I should say that that window, as you can see in the plans, is a bathroom window which will be obscure glazed, so there won't be any overlooking from that window if constructed. And with regard to the overbearing impact, that's the location where the extensions go in here. As you can see, there's close border fencing in between the two properties now, and the extension will be built next to the gable end of this property, which is a driveway to the property. So we don't think there will be any significant overbearing impact or loss of light. That window in that elevation is a landing window, so it's not a habitable room either, so there won't be any significant loss of light to that window. So as a result, carefully consider the application. It's recommended for permission as highlighted on page 11 of the report with the associated conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Jones has got his hand up.
Thank you, Chair. If I could take you to page 6 of the planning report, and at the bottom of that page, I just need to say this in the lead up to the question. And on item 1 there, in connection with the refusal for a previous application, the 7th of July, it reads, the proposed development by virtue of its design, siting, mass and height would result in a harmful overlooking and overbearing impact upon the property to the west, known as 7 Bishops Grove. This application is for a 2-storey. The previous application was for a first floor rear extension. I know you've just gone through the report and the diagrams, Hugh, but could you tell me what exactly is the difference between an application we refused 4 months ago and this application now? What is the main difference? Because it mentioned, for example, shadowing before.
Yeah, the main difference is the first floor extension that was previously refused was on the rear elevation of the property. So it was above an existing single-storey extension, so it's going above that, so it's on the rear of the property. This 2-storey element is on the side of the property, which faces on the gable end of the neighbour's property, whereas the previous refused application was on the rear. It had an overbearing impact in terms of its location in terms of the windows to the rear of the property, neighbouring property, and also the garden area to the rear of the property. So it's in a totally different location, and hence the reason why it's now recommended for permission rather than refusal.
Right, another question, Chair. On the top of page 10, because one of the objections was the issue of shadowing, and at the top of page 10, it does refer to that. You say in the report, to fully appreciate the extension would be positioned hard along the line of the dividing boundary wall with 7 Bishops Grove, given the position and angle of this neighbouring property and its orientation in relation to the proposed extension. The impact in terms of overshadowing dominance would be accepted. It is accepted that the extension will result in some loss of light to 7 Bishops Grove. But you go on to say, however, the level of overshadowing experience as a result of the extension would be limited in the morning and would not be significantly harmful as to warrant the refusal. So having read that a few times, there is shadowing, which the objector has referred to. I hear what you say there, but whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the evening, there is shadowing there. So could you explain that a bit more for me? Because it seems to be an accepting what the objector is saying. Is that correct?
2 seconds. Let me share my screen again if I can, because it might be easier to explain this by looking at the photographs and the plans again. So let me just try and share my screen again for you. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the current situation with the property, and I think, as the case officer was saying, you can see the displayed difference between the two properties. This property sat in front of this property as well. So the application site, the application property is sat in front of this property. So the extension is going down the side here.
Sorry, as I'm looking at the screen, sorry to interrupt you. It's the applicant's house is the one on the right-hand side. Is that correct?
No, it's the one on the left. So it's the red brick property. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the applicant's site. So the extension's going in that location. As you can see, there's a driveway down the side, which makes a quite a significant difference in terms of overbearing impact, and when you're looking at overshadowing, because obviously it's not an immediate space. That's where you park your car. There's no windows in that elevation. So in terms of the loss of light and the overbearing impact, you're basically overbearing on a car parking space and a gable end of a property. Whereas if we look at the probably the rear of the property might be better. So there we're looking at the rear of the property, and as you can see, the red brick property here, you can just about see the single-story extension. So if you're coming above that, then there's more significant overlooking and overshadowing to this neighbouring property's garden and windows. So that's that's not a bad view of it. The top photograph either. When you come in from the back, you can see there's a bigger impact than if you come in from the side. So that may give you a better idea as well in terms of, so here we're proposing the 2-story extension. As you can see, it's onto the driveway of the neighbour property. That's the display that the officer's talking about. And there would have been the previous 2-story extension at the back, which would have had a greater impact on the neighbouring garden and their amenity space at the rear of the property. So that's really what the officer's trying to explain. I don't know whether that explains it better, but I think it's helpful probably to have those photographs to show the situation.
Yeah. One other question. Well, one of two actually. Is there any, with this 2-story, is there any room? Because you say in the report it's right on the boundary line, so that there is no space at the side of that for a pathway to go around the side of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it doesn't look. They'd have to go through the house to get to the rear of the garden. Right. As you can see on that one, there's a little bit of green space in between the property and the driveway, but it does cut in very tight at the back of the property there. Yeah, so there's. I mean, from a planning point of view, you could probably put something single-story on the side of that property without planning permission that takes up the same situation. So. Yeah, it's not a planning reason that you can't get around the back of your garden. You can go through the obviously a terraced house, you can't get to the back of your house. The middle terrace you can't get back. So yeah.
No. One last question. The previous application was on the planning agenda 4 months ago. Is there a ruling that you cannot apply for another planning permission within a short space of time, or am I wrong?
No, there's no scale on how many applications you can put in, or different applications you can put in at any time. To be honest with you, providing the different to the ones you submitted previously, yeah, it's acceptable. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks. Are there any other questions? I can't see everyone, so I'm assuming there's no other
I
questions.
can't see any other. No one else has got their
Okay.
hand. Oh, Declan
Chair.
Salmon, Chair.
Councillor Salmon, yeah.
Lovely, thank you.
Oh, Councillor
It's just a quick question, just for clarification. Under residential amenity, it's the last paragraph, and it says, should the applicant require access to the neighbour's property to carry out the works or maintain the extension in the future, they would need to obtain the necessary permission from the landowner. I presume when the person is building this house, they'll have to ask permission from next door, who's probably the person that objected to build the property. So I see that in that paragraph, notwithstanding this, should committee be minded to approve the application, the issue can be brought to the applicant's attention by adding an appropriate informative note to the decision. Would you normally do that as part of course? And was I right in my assumptions? That was my question.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yes, absolutely right in your assumptions. They would have to get on the neighbour's property by the looks of it to construct it. There is something called the Party Wall Act. You'll see informative number 3, I think it's called a Party Wall Act. It's basically a legal agreement between or legal process between the applicant and the neighbour if they're in dispute of whether they can go on their land to build something. But it's totally outside the planning system. It's just a matter between them and the neighbour and the relevant solicitors if they can't come to an agreement.
Okay.
Okay,
thanks. Chair, I've got one other question, and it's a little bit off topic, but it's not. I know the applicant is here, but this is a question. This is more. It was going to be a comment, but I think I need a little bit of answer for who. Obviously, the applicant has put in an application a few months ago. Had plans drawn out, which probably cost quite a bit of money, and I've been dealing with another issue where someone else has put an application in somewhere else, may have to change those plans as well for a lot of money. Is there a way that when people submit an application, or maybe a little bit more, maybe before that, maybe we could put on the council website that there is that option for people to pay £50 for a pre-application meeting with planning officers, which, to be honest, would probably save a lot of money before they go to architects. I'm wondering if we could just broadcast that and advertise that fact, which would save a lot of time and hassle for the applicants and everyone else.
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, there is something on the website at the moment called a pre-application inquiry. In fact, the applicant did go through that process with this second application. So the first application, they didn't come. Second application, they came to because I think it's something that actually Councillor Jones mentioned in July as well about pre-application. So I think it's on the website. Most agents know about it. And they should be advising their clients as well that process is there. We have quite a significant number of pre-applications as well that we deal with. This agent for this application definitely knows about the pre-application process. He's been through it before. He should be advising his client of that, but there's something on the website that about our pre-application, both guidance and notes and fees on there as well. So yeah, it's already there, Councillor Salmon.
I think it costs a lot more than £50 though, doesn't it? Or does it?
And not for householder applications. Actually, it's £25 if you don't want a site meeting. It's £50 if you want a site meeting, but only £25 if you don't. So it's a really good way of getting, as Councillor Salmon, saving some money. The only thing I would say, it's only as good as the information you put in the first place. So if they come to us and say we want a 2-storey extension on the side, then we'll probably go back and say, well, just sketch something up to show us what you want to do, and we can give you more advice on it, basically. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. So
Councillor David Chaplin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow on from what Councillor Declan Salmon said. There was a situation in the past where we never used to charge for pre-application inquiries. The fact that we're charging, is to make money, and it probably is putting people off. and I'm not sure, but there was a time when we didn't used to charge.
Yeah, you're right, Councillor Chapman. There was a time when we didn't used to charge, but the Welsh Government brought in a statutory pre-application process, a charging process, and it's all to do with cost recovery as well. Obviously, is a considerable amount of time, officer time spent doing pre-applications, which saves in the long term the applicant when the application eventually comes in. I think yeah, a lot of people, £25 when you're looking at £25 compared to the cost of putting an extension up, it's not a lot of money to the applicants to say, yeah, I'd rather that assurance from the planning department my application is going to go through. So when you compare it to, I don't know, £50,000 for a 2-storey extension, then £25 is not even a brick, I wouldn't have thought. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good process to go through because it gives assurances to the applicant, and they may not then want to put the money, as Councillor Sam said, put the money forward to the architect to put those plans in if they get in a straight no from the planning department at the pre-application stage for the £25. So I personally think it's a good process to go through. There are architects out there that don't think it's a good process to go through, but I personally think we give a really good service in terms of our pre-applications.
Yeah, I agree. It's wise considering how much they must have paid to draw up plans. You know, it doesn't make sense to me. Thank you.
Thanks. So if there are no more questions, are there any comments?
None, Chair.
None.
Oh, Councillor Colbrand, sorry.
Councillor Colbrand, yes. Malcolm?
You're on mute,
Oh,
Councillor.
sorry, on mute. Apologies. Yeah, just happy. Just say that I'm happy to propose this, Chair.
Right, is there a seconder? Councillor Clive Jones.
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you. So if we take it to the vote, we'll go in reverse order like we do in the council meetings then. Are there any vote now if you want to abstain?
Councillor, oh no, there's no abstentions,
no
Chair.
Abstentions. Does anyone want to refuse? Vote no, refuse the application. Vote now if you do. No, there's none.
There's
so
none, Chair.
All those in favour of the application, vote now. Oh, so that's passed.
Carried, Chair. Everybody's voted.
Right, thank you. So the next items on the agenda, there are 4 information reports. The final item on the agenda is any other business. I'm not aware of any other business. So if has anyone else got any other business?
Lewis, is that a legacy? Have you just forgotten to put your hand down, or do you have something to say?
It is indeed a legacy. Apologies, Geraint.
Not that. Oh well, that's the end of the meeting then. Thank you all for coming.